What is up, good people? Jungle Link here. Hope you're doing well. Got a lot of bullish news here for the overall crypto space. Also some interesting stuff with Ripple and XRP. But before we get into it, yesterday I did a video about BlackRock and Fidelity and a lot of people, making moves within traditional finance to jump in here and get a spot Bitcoin ETF and other crypto services, approved on their platforms. And yes, long term, this is very bullish. And we have to understand they're eventually going to get their way. We just can't assume in the short term it is guaranteed that these initial applications will get approved. Yes, BlackRock is 571 to 1 in terms of successful ETF applications to ones that have been rejected. If anyone's going to get one through, they would be the ones to do it. But this is a different animal here. It's possible it's going to take some time. So don't go overboard here. Think, it's guaranteed to happen right now. It sure could. But in the short term, we just don't know. And I'm not sure that matters. If you're an investor in cryptocurrencies, you understand this is a long-term game. And the board's looking darn good here, as traditional finance gets very serious about this asset class as we get ready to graduate from this hobbyist level asset class to a true, financial force globally. It's going to happen. I just have to make sure you understand it may or may not happen right now. Yes, BlackRock's going to get their way. Fidelity's going to get their way. Make no mistake. We just don't know the timing. Be careful there. Now, the first article is titled XRP Moon Time. I like the sound of that. Ripple eyes upper hand in SEC lawsuit as CEO Brad Garlinghouse sheds some light on the case outcome. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, made some key revelations regarding the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in a rare video address. Garlinghouse stated, "At the best, these documents, the Hinman docs, show that senior officials at the SEC couldn't agree on the law and told Bill Hinman directly he would confuse the public even more about the rules of crypto. At worst, they showed Hinman deliberately ignored the law and tried to create new laws, something only Congress can do." Let me tell you this. A lot of people are saying, oh, this is a nothing burger. I think they expected to see some sort of criminality here. What this does, if you're a judge and you're kind of on the sideline, you're like, you know what? This sure doesn't feel like a security. When you read that, well, the SEC clearly states there might be a regulatory gap. These may not be securities. That would be enough to push you over the edge and go with your gut and give that ruling that, you know what, this is not the trade of securities. It probably should be regulated, but maybe it's not under current law. I think this is vital, the release of these records. Not just for fair notice in case Ripple has to continue on here and fight over penalties and stuff like that. It's much bigger than that. It shows that within SEC headquarters here, that many of them believe that they don't have authority over this space. It's going to make a judge more inclined to make that tough decision. They usually are going to want to side with regulators here, but they just may not be able to. We'll have to see. The Ripple court case is going to be a massive one to set the tone as we go forward. He mentioned Ripple's aggressive interaction with the SEC, including private meetings with Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman, during which no objection to the token XRP being categorized as a security were voiced. So they just sat there, listened to information, collected everything they could, and then used that against Ripple. That's not a regulator that's trying to work with the space. The people that are good actors, trying to make sure that they are following the law, that are voluntarily giving you, their operational guidelines here, you just collect all that stuff and sue them. That's not how you work with an emerging asset class. "We were fully transparent, not knowing they would use this information against us," Ripple CEO said. He criticized the unexpected SEC Wells notice, citing violations in Security and Exchange Act without offering details and reiterating the experience of others who had faced similar legal procedures. So that's the thing. They won't specifically say, how do we operate compliantly? What have we done wrong? They just say, this is illegal, you owe us $1 billion and you have to stop operations. That's ridiculous. And it's gonna, test the judge's patience. In the Ripple court case and anything else, we see this happening with Binance and Coinbase, and they're getting a lot of pushback here because even when the judges ask them very clear questions, well, they get roundabout answers. The SEC tried to bully us. Thankfully, we have the resources to fight back, and now we can see what they fought so hard to hide. They knowingly created confusion about the rules and used that confusion to regulate through enforcement. That's bad faith, plain and simple. And so As crypto enthusiasts, we just don't really like regulators, let's be honest. It's against the grain here in our very DNA. It's what this space is about, having an open and free financial system. But as a judge, you're going to ask yourself, well, why is the SEC being like this? Why won't they give us clear answers? Well, probably because they don't have the authority here to regulate this space. And so they try to use deception and, half answers to try to bully people into their form of compliance. Not lawful, not legal compliance, really bullying tactics. And I hope the judge sees right through this. Ripple and every other major player in this space would love nothing more than if the SEC just released guidelines. This is what you have to do. These are the requirements. Because you know what would happen to those companies and to the associated assets? I mean, it would take it up to a whole new level, both in terms of major investors willing to invest into this asset class and also entrepreneurs building businesses on top of those technology stacks. It's major, and at least we're going to get a transparent solution here. If I can give Gary Gensler credit for anything, at least he stuck to his word. And he says, you know what, we're going to throw it to the courts, and we're going to let them decide, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. We could not get this level of transparency with a settlement or any sort of backroom deals with Ripple and the SEC. It would just apply only to Ripple. This will be big for the whole space. We'll know what we're working with. Again, like Brad said, they have the assets and the resources to fight back, to lay their case out in court. Not everyone can do that. I don't think many other projects will fare better. So what we get here is probably going to be as good as it can possibly get. Now, I saw this article. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's titled, Ripple Can't Win Against the SEC as XRP is Marked for Death, says expert. Who is this expert? Of course, Max Keiser. This is maximalism at its best. Only Bitcoin's good, everything else is trash. And he says the following. XRP will not triumph over the SEC because this battle was never about the law. Adding that the embattled cryptocurrency was marked for death and it's Gary's job to take it out. Now, if the U.S. government wanted to just outlaw crypto, they could do so. They could only allow Bitcoin trading. That's not what this is about. This is about gaining control over capital markets and what will be a big part of capital markets in the future, which is cryptocurrencies. And this is what is so silly about Max Keiser's position here. If you really believe in Bitcoin and understand why it's great, you don't want them playing around with the infrastructure here. People are going to want to have lightning fast payments, DeFi. And guess what? If they don't have networks to do that, they're going to want to come and adjust Bitcoin. And yeah, Bitcoin could do that. Look, it's open source. We could change the code there. But if you want all of these advanced feature sets, there's a cost to that. So if you really love Bitcoin and you think it's inherently great, well, you would like the fact that there's these other networks that can do those functionalities because you keep it off of your network. What you do is great. Different tools for different jobs. You want fast payments, great, XRP. You want DeFi and all sorts of smart contract stuff, well, maybe Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, whatever. Let them fight it out. But the point is, you shouldn't really be fearful of these other networks because they're going after totally different lanes. This idea that you're just going to have one cryptocurrency with one, specific use case, while important, is just stupid. It tells me that Max Keiser really doesn't understand Bitcoin, what makes it valuable, and how all these different pieces fit together in a larger ecosystem. Now, the next article is titled, Ripple has played its hand. Could it help Coinbase? And it's talking about the Hinman docs. And I think, it's not just the Hinman docs, it's the overall Ripple court case. If this judge comes in and says, you know what, XRP is not and has never been a security, well, that's going to hurt the SEC in a big way. Because really what they're not after just the staking and some of the other services these exchanges have. They want dominion and monitoring and surveillance over the trade of general cryptocurrencies. But to do that, it has to be a security. If there are no securities there, they have no authority to come in and start poking around. And in this article, it's talking about, the Hinman docs and how they could be useful for both Ripple and Coinbase as fair notice. That only comes into play if you lose, if these assets are securities, if you are facing some sort of penalty problem. But I think it's much deeper than that. Again, it shows that even within the SEC, that they don't believe that these assets are securities. If you look at the Hinman speech, what did it tell us? Well, it tells us that crypto assets are not securities. He said it specifically for Ethereum. We, the SEC, don't believe that Ethereum should be regulated as a security. Well, that would go off to any similar assets and networks. This space has grown a ton. And so when you look at 2018 Ethereum and compare that to modern day Cardano or Atom or any of these other assets, heck, these are probably much more, decentralized than even Ethereum was back in 2018 when Hinman said, you know what, this is essentially a regulatory gap and we don't see it as a security. And we see from the docs that other people agreed within the SEC and even told them, hey, maybe you shouldn't point this out. Even if Hinman's motives were nefarious in nature, we want him to be right. We actually agree with what he was saying, just not that it's not only Ethereum, it's other like-kind networks and assets. All right, the next article is from CNBC. It's titled, What to Know About Crypto Investing as Regulators Weigh the First Spot Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund. And as I said, it's going to happen. We just don't know for sure if it's going to happen now. Bitcoin has rallied amid news about a possible spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund. And other big names are entering the digital currency space. It's not just about ETFs. Fidelity is said to be making a big splash within this space. Maybe an acquisition of Grayscale, maybe something else, but they're going to ratchet up their efforts here. ETF applications from companies such as BlackRock, WisdomTree, and Valkyrie have caused Bitcoin to surge more than 80%. U.S. investors currently have access to Bitcoin futures, but the long-awaited spot ETF, however, would invest in digital currency directly. So it's a much better product for investors. That's the big deal here. The futures product is not great because of the cost, because you aren't actually investing in the asset. It's just not as good for investors. This will be a much superior product. Douglas Bonepath, a New York certified financial planner, says, I think this spot ETF is a watershed moment for Bitcoin, and I think it's for the whole space. It's really signifying as we graduate into a real asset class when we are fully integrated within the financial system. It's a very serious statement to see BlackRock submit this application. Absolutely. And it tells us it's going to happen. This is no longer some yahoo trying to push through an ETF application. BlackRock's going to get their way. Maybe now, maybe later, but it's going to happen. Quoting from the article, a Bitcoin spot ETF would provide easier access to assets, allowing investors to buy and sell digital currencies through a brokerage account. I can't tell you how many people I know that would like to invest in crypto, but they don't trust Coinbase or Binance or these fly-by-night companies. They want to go to Charles Schwab. They want to go to BlackRock, whoever they use to, place and secure their investment. And us as crypto, enthusiasts, if you're not self-custodying, which they ain't going to want to do, we're not comfortable either with the infrastructure, right? Like, we don't like holding on exchanges. And for big investors, it's just not going to be, a workable system here. They're not interested in taking a Ledger Nano and stuffing it under their pillow. And they darn sure ain't going to leave money on these fly-by-night exchanges. These, major financial institutions, they may not get our business, but they're going to bring in a lot of new investors. Very important. And in this article, they talk about, the general suggestion is going to be limiting your exposure to 1 to 5% through this asset class. This individual, Mr. Bonepath, believes that, for him personally, it'd be about 5 to 10%. It's going to vary. People ain't going to YOLO their whole account in here. But I've seen a lot of stuff from Fidelity that's like, you know what? The dangerous thing is not having any crypto. That probably 1 to 2% is appropriate. And when you look at what that very small amount of risk of your total assets, if you have it in this space, it can have exponential rewards versus risk long term. Very little risk to the downside, but can make a big difference over the long term. And they're looking at like pension funds and endowment funds and things like this. You're going to see a lot of money pouring into this space. And the last article is from MarketWatch, and I think it's spot on. It says Wall Street firms double down on crypto after SEC sues Binance and Coinbase, who will win the competition. And that's kind of what this is about, right? This is about running a lot of people out of the industry as traditional finance comes in and takes over. Now, I think Coinbase will make it, and they have partnerships with your BlackRocks and people like that to custody assets and to help them transition into this space. They are the experts. But I think a ton of companies are going to get just run out of this space, either acquired or forced out by regulators, and that's the whole point. It's no accident that you see Coinbase and Binance and probably more lawsuits coming. Everyone in disarray within crypto, and here comes your big players, your traditional finance players, descending on this space, filing, ETF applications, rolling out new services, getting ready to make big acquisitions. They understand we're kind of a lull of the bear market, and now is your time to make your move. Go after your competition, acquire what you can, and get ready because the next bull run is somewhere on the horizon. Could it happen now? Of course. Of course it could. I would be very uncomfortable being totally out of crypto, but I'm eyeing for 2024, late 2025. That's just kind of how I've positioned myself, but I'm ready at a moment's notice. You want to rock and roll right now? Let's go. I'm packed and ready. Now, in the pinned comment down below, if you're interested in precious metals, I'm a big fan of JM Bullion. I originally got the website from DM Logic. I was asking him, hey, where do you get your, Silver Eagle, stuff like that? I've had great success with them. In the pinned comment down below, got an affiliate link. I reached out to them and said, you know what? I like your service. I want to be an affiliate of yours. They accepted me in their program. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you want to buy your gold coins, your silver coins, check them out. You want to support the channel, we got that affiliate link down below in the pinned comment. JM Bullion, great service. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.